Lee Freeman, welcome
yes,
to the
boys.
Podcast.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.
You are a coach to people in their 40s, elite males, you mentioned on your Instagram.
Yeah.
We want to pick your brains today on what it takes to kind of coach people in their 40s, difference between the 30s, 20s. I assume you've coached people across like all those age ranges.
Yeah, right across the board. Yeah.
Straight off the bat, what would you say is the biggest difference between people in their 20s, 30s and what you coach now in the 40s?
It's just a completely different approach that's needed. Obviously, I know you're a dad as well, and I love seeing the stuff with your little girl on Instagram.
On
proper warmed my heart seeing that when she was doing the abs with you. But obviously, I was so privileged in that stage. I went through, when I was playing rugby at Sheffield, then went into physique modelling, and it was kind of really outside of work, so I was self-employed, kind of living the self-employed kind of professional athlete stroke model kind of life, really. I didn't have anyone to answer to. I worked when I wanted, I went to bed when I wanted, I prepped food when I wanted.
It's not a bad way of living this, is it?
Yeah,
where do I sign up?
Yeah. And it was just so easy because you don't have anyone to think of apart from yourself. And I also think during those stages as well, your body does respond completely differently in your 20s to your 40s. And then
what age was this at when you were doing all this?
So the last time I competed was 2015 at Fit Factor at Body Power, and then Logan was born in 2018. So all of a sudden, like you know what I'm talking about, life just changes like into the middle of next week. Business took off and became a lot busier, and all of a sudden I'm like, this lifestyle just doesn't work whatsoever. I don't have, an hour to do cardio every morning and then I can go and do my weights in the afternoon. Even different challenges, like back then there were never any, children's biscuits or buttons or chocolate fingers or yogurts in the house, which seems a bizarre thing to say, but it's another challenge you face when you become a parent, because when you're just living the professional fitness life, I never had those things in the house. So
kids leftovers, it's so hard, isn't it? When
never challenges. And the difference with tiredness and having to roll with the punches and everything from the early years of being at hospitals to school runs, and it's a much more flexible approach that's needed, and that's why I rebuilt the business, because this isn't a dig against them, but there's a lot of coaches that are physique models and bodybuilders, and that's the only approach they need. And the amount of kind of dads and business owners that are in their 40s that have come to me and they've said, well, this is the coach I've had from, it's the plan I've had from my previous coach, and it was just impossible. It's the classic chicken and rice and broccoli 4 times a day, and the ground beef and Greek yogurt and X, Y, and Z for breakfast.
Rice Krispie squares nowadays.
That's the one. And I want you to do, 60 minutes fasted cardio every morning and this really complex push-pull leg split 6 sessions a week. It's not going to work for, a guy who's got 100 employees and 3 kids and clubs after school. So just rebuilt the system around, giving guys a set plan, but also teaching them how to. It's really funny because we said we'll film some content in McDonald's after driving past. As absurd as knowing how to eat in McDonald's, knowing how to eat in an airport, knowing how to eat when you're stuck at the hospital because your little boy's broken his ankle, and teaching men how to understand how to roll with the punches in all these circumstances and make things work over a 7-day period, a 14-day period, a 21-day period. Not, I have to get every day perfect with this rigid bodybuilding approach, and if I'm not, then I'm not good enough and I feel like I fail. And giving them the tools to also understand, well, it riles me up a little bit because I'm just so tired of hearing it, but the amount of men where you say, hey mate, how's it going? And just busy, mate. Like, it's a knee-jerk response. They don't even think about whether they are busy or not. It's just the narrative that they've told themselves for the last kind of 20, 30 years. But, if we are really that busy, then, we need to be chunking training down into, if we can own, what I'm very much an advocate of is we work with what we've got to get results. So if you focus on it, and this goes for any area of life, not just fitness and training, if you focus on anything that you can't control, you will always feel weak and disempowered, and you'll fall into that kind of state of learned hopelessness, making excuses, playing the victim. I can't go to the gym because of X, I can't do this because of Y, focusing on what they can't control. Whereas if we focus on what we can control and what we can change, then we always feel strong and empowered and like we're in charge. It's almost like for me, the analogy I use is the difference of understanding, you're the driver in the driver's seat with the keys, or you're the passenger in the passenger seat, just letting light. And the classic phrase, your life happens to you or life happens for you. So within the mindset of that, if I've only got 45 minutes to train 3 times per week, you can still get results. You just need to know how to channel your nutrition around that, which isn't going to be the same nutrition plan as a 20-year-old bodybuilder. I mean, the amount of plans that are just getting recycled from coach to coach to coach in this industry is fucking ridiculous. Excuse my language. I've seen the same plan probably 400 times. When someone sent it to me, I'm like, oh, someone sent me that. It's just the same, like what I said, it's the same thing. And it needs to be adaptable. What works for a 20-year-old physique model to get his abs out for Marbella isn't going to work for
I've had quite a few
45-year-old dad.
And fair play to a lot of dads, because they go to certain coaches who maybe aren't in their niche, but they want those kind of results. Everyone wants it. The good thing about the bodybuilding style and the physique style training is it looks mega, doesn't it? Like the end product is awesome, but actually what it takes is quite rigorous and probably more than what most dads, working men can do. And I get a lot of guys come to me and they will say, I stuck with it for 6 months. I got great results, but my God, I couldn't wait to leave. Like I just couldn't wait to have my old life back. And I'm like, well, the one thing I don't want you to do on my program is have that same mindset of I can't wait to finish. Like that's not the kind of end goal here. The end goal is let's find a way of living. Let's teach you some tactics that you can do literally from now until the moment you pop your clogs. I mean, maybe when you're a bit older in your 80s, you might have to change the program a little bit, but that is it's an ethos around sustainability. Yeah. I think that's where it shifts from maybe even like 30s to 40s, even a lot of guys in their 30s. I mean, I think I train relatively frequently compared to most dads, but I do wonder what it'd be like when you've got 2 kids. That's kind of my...
I still think, dependent on the goal, whether it's muscle building or not, and again, this might trigger some people and they might not like it, but every guy can go out for a run for 45 minutes in the morning. Do some press ups, do some squats, do some lunges, grab a kettlebell, do it before the kids get out of bed. Like, what annoys me is the amount of men that use their kids as an excuse for their own poor physical health. Because they will very often say, I hear this, but it's for kids, isn't it? So, everything they say is for the kids, when in fact what your kids really want is you to be fit and healthy, to live longer and grow up and have energy and be present and be driven and be focused and be a role model. Not, I don't go to the gym because I've got kids. I eat crap because I've got kids. And it's just smokescreen, it is. Because it's easier to use them as the reason why you're not doing things than to go through the discomfort of saying, do you know what, actually, I'm going to get up 45 minutes earlier every day and I'm going to journal for 15 minutes and I'm going to plan my day and I'm going to go for a run for half an hour. And I think I hear parent guilt all the time as well. Like, I feel guilty having time away from the kids. And for me, that's just a huge reframe as well, because when you become fit and healthy and you're the best version of yourself, they get the best version of you. So rather than I don't do this because of my kids, do it for your kids. Like, be that energetic human for them. You guys know when you're on fire physically and mentally, you show up, you're present, you're energized, and almost saying, I don't do all this negative stuff and I don't do all this positive stuff because of them. Well, that's just, you've got it completely the wrong way around, because then they're getting the tired, mardy, overwhelmed, stressed dad because he's not taking time out to fill his own cup first. It's like the Ryanair analogy, isn't it? If you don't fit your own oxygen mask first, then you're not going to be able to save your kids. And I see it's really similar in fitness.
Good analogy.
100%. I just want to pick up on that word you said there, Lee, which is reframe. Is there anything that you think maybe 40-year-old men or men in the 40s probably need to start reframing more of? Because you mentioned there about not putting yourself first. Is there any other commonalities?
Stop saying I'd die for my kids. Why would your kids want you to die for them? live for your kids, be healthy for your kids, be a role model for your kids. My favourite phrase of all time is don't tell them, show them. Kids don't do what they're told. Does your daughter do what she's told 90% of the time?
She used to, but she's taken a turn recently, and I think once they pass like 2, it's all
judging by her running in and giving you a cuddle and doing sit-ups, does she copy what she sees?
Yeah, she does. We go into the gym and I start doing some squats, and she immediately wants to do what Daddy's doing.
So Logan's obsessed with playing. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Roblox or Roblox.
Roblox.
We're straight into Roblox. We're in this gym. We're eating stuff and we're doing weights, and he's going, Daddy, what do I need to do to get big muscles? And it's so funny at the minute because it's difficult to explain it because he jumps on my scales in the bathroom and he's like 25 kilograms. So he's like, yes, I'm 25 strong. But then it's not going up, even though he's like doing his weights and his kettlebells. He's only 6 and he's like,
I'm only
25.2 strong. But even like, he'll say like, Daddy, does ham make me strong? It's ham. What makes these big? He's into it, and he's got his little kettlebell and his little weights, and and there is some great stuff coming out as well. I don't know if you saw that story that I shared on my stories the other day. He was randomly eating his breakfast and he's watching this thing on YouTube, and it's just this song about saying healthy food makes me strong and junk food makes me weak. I think there is good things out there that's starting to teach kids that, but I just think it's our role as dads to be the example, not the warning.
I'm not sure if you found this actually, but I find that when I've done my session for the day, when I've done all my work, when I see my little one in the afternoon, I feel a sense of like calm. I'm calm once I've done everything. Like I feel like if I've not done all those things and I'm spending time with her, it's on my mind. I'm not present. Whereas if those things are done, out of the way, I've got it all done, especially early doors. That time in the afternoon with my daughter is just like peace and quiet. Like I've not got that kind of little voice in my mind saying you've not worked hard enough today, you've not done your session, even like little things like prepping for the week and stuff. Those things aren't done. They're playing on my mind. I'm thinking maybe I could be doing those while I'm here with Liv. Well, it's kind of like a little bit of a internal battle, I guess, some days when those things aren't done. So
I can echo that as well. Typically on a Thursday morning, I'll have Ted, my little boy, whilst my wife goes to the gym, and I feel exactly the same. I feel like there's stuff on my mind that I want to do. Do you find that with Logan at the moment, or are you ever present? You feel really locked in?
I found it hard. There's two stories that come to my mind there. One was a bikini model who I was coaching. She's in great shape. I do still coach some women as well. And she was on a podcast, and someone asked her, said like she's got 3 kids and she's got 2 businesses, and she competes. So there's a story there in itself. And someone said to her, do you not feel selfish for the amount of time you spend at the gym with your cardio and you do this? And she turned around flat as a die and she said, no, I feel selfish when I'm fucking miserable and mardy in front of my daughter because I've not sorted myself out first. And I just thought, that's just the best response, as you said, reframe how she's framed it, that when you are the best version of you, which for me, everything stems from nutrition, training, mindset.
There's still that stigma on the line, isn't there? Especially about like, if you're not spending all your time with your kids, you're not a good dad or you're not a good mum. But
like you have to give up your life for them. Well, they wouldn't want that.
No,
when they to be happy.
Yeah, when they think back when they're in like the 20s, 30s, 40s, and they're thinking of the parents, they're thinking of the accolades and what you did and the lessons you taught.
You were saying that's my dad.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a funny one where online now, especially in like some of the parent groups and things like that, they become like their kids, and you become. I've said this before on the podcast. It's controversial and like a fitness podcast, but you become too much like your kids and into your kids, and it becomes too much.
It's a smoke screen. It's a smoke screen.
And I get it becomes like your identity, you're a parent, but it can't become your sole identity. You have to do things that are still for you. It's a bit like when we've all had it when mates in a relationship and they just spend all the time with the missus and you never see them, and they become like the same person, and you can see it when they're together.
Well, you hear that. It all went downhill for me when I had kids.
Oh.
Well, no, you made a decision. You changed. Like you can still find that time. Anyone can find 45 minutes per day to go for a walk. Make like the whole eating thing. I don't have time to eat healthy. Shut up. It takes the same amount of time to eat healthy as it does to eat junk food. I can't afford to eat healthy. well, that's just rubbish as well. You know, they're not. And if you eat less, then you're going to spend less money because you're eating less food. You know, there's all these smoke screens that people come into and it's just this defense mechanism to, if I keep telling myself this narrative and this story, then I don't have to take action and actually start sorting my shit out.
I had a client once who came to me and she was exactly the same mindset. I can't afford to eat healthy. I said, right, let's go onto your Just Eat account now. And I saw her eyes like,
yeah.
She went, oh, it wasn't Just Eat, it was Deliveroo. I said, let's go on your Deliveroo account now. And we opened it up. And it was like, she spent like £200 a month.
Yeah.
And I was like...
And boozing every weekend.
She wasn't much of a booze, but she was a big eater.
Yeah.
And as we broke it down, I was like, that's £200 a month. You give me £50 of that just every couple of weeks for £25 a week for good food. We'll half that bill and we'll spend it all on good food, and I guarantee you can feed yourself for the week. £25. Let's get you the best veggies, the best pastas, rice, some meats in there, fishes. You can do it on a budget. You can. You don't have to buy the best stuff.
I always think it comes down to values as well. So just to be kind of clear on what I said there, if people don't value health and fitness and they don't value healthy food and X, Y, and Z, then that's cool, because we're all individual, we're all our own lives. But it's like really similar situations to that. Like I've been on a couple of calls with new prospective clients and they've either got like this absolutely sensational full sleeve tattoo and they've just got back from Ibiza and they're sat on a Chesterfield couch. And then when it comes, I'm just not sure I'm going to be able to afford it. And there's that part of me that just wants to go, and I've actually said it before, how much did your sleeve cost? But your health and your weight's making you miserable every day, and it's crazy. It's the values and priorities, but also the easy options. So sorry, ladies, but you know the amount of women that would spend $7,000 on a boob job, but if it came to investing £300 a month on a coach because they're overweight, they would see one as valuable and straight in, get a credit card. One as, no, I'm not paying that, because it comes down to these two things. One's easy. Yeah. You don't have to put any work into getting the operation.
You can put recliner as well.
Yeah. That's true. You mentioned values there. Do you mind talking us through your values? What do you really put on a pedestal?
Wow, that's a
deep
question, yeah. So my strongest values are honesty and integrity, and showing up as the man that I want to be for Logan and that he is. But I actually spoke to Zach about this in the car on the way. There's times when I haven't, and in a way now it breaks my heart to say that when I look back to it. I was actually telling Zach a story in the car, because over and above when obviously the situation happened with breaking my neck and the resulting depression, which ended up being the comeback to launching the new career and the new life, there was, I think you and I spoke about this on the phone actually. For new dads, I think a young child is thrust into your arms and you're expected to love it and it be your best friend. And, you know, as I said, I think with mothers that does happen, and it's whether it's related to oxytocin or just the fact that they've carried the baby. But I didn't experience that. I was like, what the fuck? What is this? Who is he? What do I do with him? All he does is shits, cries. I don't know how to stop him crying. I'm exhausted. Sometimes I want to cry myself because I've not slept. Work's going to shit because I'm so tired. And I didn't have that initial bond. And that didn't happen for a couple of years. And I'd almost slipped back into... So if anyone is struggling with any of these things, or maybe thinking I'm a little bit judgmental on the things I've said so far, I've been there. I get it. And I'd very much slipped back into... My music career was starting to take off again. I was taking DJ gigs at weekend, avoidance, didn't have to be at home. I was spending long nights in the office, and kind of going back into a frustration zone where, much like that said person might be avoiding the exercise, like I get it, I was actually avoiding being a dad a little bit because it wasn't fun at that time.
Was this straight from birth, from the moment it was born?
Straight from birth, yeah. And then it was, I think Logan must have been about 2 or 3 years old. Sorry, my brain will go wild here into about 10 stories. I'll come back to that. But I had an event at the Etihad Stadium in Manchester on the Friday where with my mentor at the time, and Russell Kane was speaking. And then I was DJing that Friday at Ministry of Sound supporting Paul Van Dyk, which was my last gig that I did. And I remember going to Manchester, then I had to have a driver to take me to Ministry of Sound, did the gig, probably had about half a bottle of tequila, wasn't ridiculously smashed, but was smashed enough. Driver brought me home, got back in at 7 o'clock in the morning, and like Logan was already up, and I was like, fuck. I went to bed for like an hour, and then he was like, daddy, and he just wanted, his dad wanted to play, and we're coming downstairs, and I was just like, just let daddy sleep for 2 minutes, you know, tired, and it was that day when I just thought, this isn't good enough. Like, you're not showing up for him. That's not, it's his weekend too. So my values very much are being a dad, leading from the front, being a role model, but also there's times when I wasn't, and I didn't show up at the level I needed to be, and I had gone back into probably avoiding being a dad a little bit in the early stages. But hand on heart, now I can say that I am, and that was the life-changing moment. And now it's like, you know, and I hope that maybe some dads will watch this, and if they're feeling that way out, take it away, because from 2 to 3 years on, when we started communicating, now he's like my best mate. Like he's taught me more than any human's ever taught me, and he's 6 years old. He's taught me what unconditional love is. He's taught me lessons about myself, and it's the most incredible relationship ever. But I think, again, you know, going back to the values of honesty, integrity, that's why I'll kind of share things like that now, because sometimes as dads, I think you need to be vulnerable enough to say, do you know what, actually, I'm finding this tough. And that can be quite hard sometimes as a, you know, an alpha male, a masculine. You expect to just be the leader all the time. And sometimes it is tough as a dad. And I don't think sometimes that's probably considered enough. But, you know, going back to the values as well, the other one is being present. And I always like to share this story, because in that period, in that time, I was also working with a kind of coach and a mentor called Nikki and Tony V. They're incredible. And obviously I've got ADHD, highly autistic, so is Logan. So it's very difficult at times, because two people with two patterns and routines that are both hyperactive to fuck and don't like their patterns being disruptive. It's an interesting combination at times. Logan's mum, Nat, who's my ex, she finds it hilarious. Sometimes she's like, watching you two together is just like a comedy show. But there were times when I was getting really, really, really frustrated, and kind of angry and upset, and couldn't understand things, didn't know what to do, didn't understand the patterns. And the level of Nikki's coaching, how she pulled this out. And dads, again, don't take this to heart if it's you, because we all do it. We still do it now. I bet I do it now, you do it now, and you do it now. Just when is it, Lee, that you're getting most frustrated with Logan? Oh, all the time. No, tell me, when is it you're getting, what are you doing when you're getting most frustrated with Logan? I'll give you some clues. And it hit me straight away, because I had to actually think about it. I was just like, I'm just getting really frustrated. I'm so busy. And I'm like, when is it? What are you doing? I'm thinking, fuck's sake. I went, trying to get some work done on my phone. And she went, right, okay. And when you're getting frustrated because he's being quote unquote naughty, he's not really, is he? He's just wanting your attention. You know, what are you not doing? Being present with him. And I was like, yeah, I get it. And she went, well, he just wants your love. He's not being naughty. He wants your love and he wants your attention. And you're messing around on your phone when he wants you and he wants you to be present. And then she said to me, and I also know why it's triggering you so much. And I was like, why? And she went, what was it that you never got when you were a kid? And I was like, shit, like love, attention, affection, parents that were present. And she went, he's showing you. He's teaching you how to be. He's teaching you how to be a better man. And that was like one of the best moments in my life, because I'm like, he's not being naughty. And it's, again, we talked about reframes, but to reframe from, I then learned to go from, oh God, why is he behaving like this, to, why is he behaving like this? Same question, completely different tone. behaving like that because he wants my love and attention, and I'm ignoring him because I'm trying to do a fucking Instagram story to get more fucking clients. So no wonder he's upset, because he just, that's all they want, don't they?
Yeah. Today's world's tricky as well, because we all work partially from home, especially when you run your own businesses. It's like, your phone's on you, you're technically at work, I guess, and it's about having those moments.
I'm that bad with mine at times. I have to put it in the boot. I'll go and put it in the boot of the car. Put it on the side, you still go and fucking check it.
I've started doing that in my office, where if I do find myself procrastinating a little bit, there's something going on online, whether it's a post I've done, it's getting a few comments and I need to respond to them, because again, even social media is fast moving, you need to get to these things pretty quick. I will just go and put my phone in the bedroom, be like, right, if I've got to get off my chair and go and get it, I'm less likely to do it. And it does help. They have these little boxes you can get now.
With the key,
boxes, and you've got passcode on it. It times it for like an hour so you can't touch it. Wow. I do sometimes wonder if the house starts burning down.
Oh yeah, like, what do I do?
Don't you think it's really weird though as well? Because I remember not having children, and sometimes maybe being on holiday, and we're all like, I try so hard not to, but we're all judgmental. It's human nature. So being in situations where I'd seen parents with two parts to this story, and the kids are on their iPads or they're on their phones, and proper judging the parents. God, they're just ignoring their kids. They're just all sat on iPads. And then sometimes you realise how intense it can be as a parent sometimes. And if you do manage to just get them settled on their iPad for 1 hour and you can get some stuff done, you're like, that's the fucking So it's like, whilst I don't think it should be, they should be allowed on screens 24/7, I think there's so much changes when you become a dad, because I'm like, God, why are they not being present with their kids? They're just, and I didn't have kids, they're just letting them sit on their iPads and ignoring them around the swimming pool. And then once I'm a dad, I'm like, I get it.
Have you ever heard the paradigm shifting story from, I think it's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People?
Love that book, read it, yeah. Stephen Covey,
yeah. And he talks about, just in case anyone's not heard this, is this guy who gets on a train and he comes across this dad with 4 kids. These kids are causing absolute havoc on the train. And he turns to this guy and he says, look, can you control your kids, please? And he said, oh, I'm really sorry, man. Their mum's just died and we don't really know what to do. And like, I can't tell him yet. And straight away his paradigm changed. He's like, what can I do? What can I do to help? So I think having that little bit of understanding, and that's sort of forced upon you, I think, as a dad. You have to.
100%.
You get it. You understand that other people have different struggles. And
it's quite hard with autism as well, because like the meltdowns are like next level. Like the couple of the first times when I noticed with Logan, like he just went to pick up one of my razor blades in the shower, and I was like, no, grabbed it, and obviously can happen just like that. He wanted that. I told him he couldn't have it. Like absolutely crazy, like punching his head, and I had to like pin him to the floor and kind of protecting him in this big walk-in shower, trying not to hurt myself at the same time. And again, I've really learned, like I know the signs now, I know the signals, and I know how to handle him. But it can be quite difficult in public sometimes, because if there's something that he's doing which maybe he shouldn't be doing, but it's not the end of the world, it's not worth the potential meltdown to interrupt that pattern or kind of have the argument. And again, it's the same thing on all different angles. You can see other parents looking at you like, oh, why is he just letting him run around like that? Or, why is he not shouting at him? And it's like, shouting just doesn't work. Like, being cross doesn't work. I always think that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in parenting as well, that I think it was in the book, I think it's the book You Wish Your Parents Have Read, when it kind of teaches you that you can't teach a child to behave better by making them feel worse. So, very often and this is a really interesting point that I learned as well, one, if they're misbehaving, it might be the story that I just said about you're not giving them the love and attention that they need, but also it can sometimes go the other way. So when they do get on the iPad or they are being well behaved, you start ignoring them so you can get some work done. So what you're teaching them is when they misbehave and they're naughty, you shout at them, but they get your attention. When they're good and they're quiet, you just completely ignore them. And it's a really interesting one, that, because it's, there's the old discipline ways, aren't there? I mean, I grew up from a military background with my granddad. So it was quite disciplined, and that's where the honesty and the integrity and the values came from. But in terms of,
would that approach work with Logan now, do you think?
No, and I just don't. One, I think shouting doesn't achieve anything. Shouting at kids can cause PTSD in later life, and again, like this, I'll lump it. But a lot of the parents that I see shouting at kids, and I've seen some horrific incidences that triggered certain PTSD to situations that I had when I was younger, of parents just screaming at kids in the morning on an estate because they're not doing what they're told. Because one, the parent probably got pissed the night before, went to bed late, didn't get the kids' clothes ready, and then all the kids done is just messing around trying to get in the car for school, and they're screaming at them because they're not doing what they're told. Like, that then leads into mirrors. Go and look around the supermarket, angry, tired, miserable, low energy, shouty parents. What do their kids behave like? Exactly the same. Calm, focused, empathetic, kind parents, kind, empathetic parents. All they know is to copy what we do. And we all mirrors, which is why I think I'm not perfect. I've snapped at Logan, snapped at him once in the car, and it literally made me cry afterwards, because he turned round and he said, "Daddy, I don't like you when you're angry. I want you to be kind all the time." And I was like, fucking hell, welled up.
I think the funny thing is, I think all parents do just want the best for their kids.
Yeah.
And I think in the morning it's hard, it's a stressful situation, they've got to be at work, they've got to be at school, you're trying to get everyone ready really fast, kids aren't responding to your messages, and then it all comes out in this big shouting match, and everyone really just wants an end goal of, we need you here, I need to be here. But I've also seen it on the other end where parents are too placid and the kids are a little terror, and I'm like, probably needs a little bit more sitting down. So
I think we're all,
and everyone's on that kind of, but depending on where your kid lies from a kind of attitude and behaviour point of view, we're all just trying to match that energy and trying to get the best out of them. But sometimes it's the shouting doesn't help. Sometimes being too placid doesn't help.
I think in response to all of those situations, we're all just doing our best. And I truly believe that about every situation in life. Some very toxic things happened to me when I was younger that I've forgiven, but even now, I think every human is literally, I'm not talking about, I said this on social media and someone called me out about, so you'd say murderers are okay. I'm like, no, I'm not saying that. But generally, most men and women at any point in life are doing their best with the emotional tools that they've been given up until that time. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong, but again, it can be, even when you talk about fear and it being conditioned by other people or conditioned by your environment, the way that parent is angry, reactive and shouting at their kids all the time might well have come from their mum and dad were angry, reactive and shouting all the time. But my point is, and when I had that epiphany after the Ministry of Sound event, was I'm generally not snappy, angry, mardy, reactive when I've done several things. Number one, got to bed on time. Number two, nourished myself with healthy food. Number three, exercised. So again, we're going back to what we said at the start. When you're looking after yourself and your mindset's on point and you've slept and you've hydrated and you're feeling good and you're feeling happy and confident, you've got to bed on time. You got up 2 hours before the kids because you didn't drink alcohol, which meant all their school clothes were ready and the breakfast was made, and that whole calm thing is, and again, building back into whether it's thriving in your career as a businessman, healing your mental health, coming back from injury and rehab after the things that I did. Everything positive stems from healthy nutrition, sleep, hydration and exercise. I really do believe it does, which is why I'm so passionate about it, because when you get those right, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, all of a sudden everything else just seems to fall into place without you trying. You're on a mission with your exercise, your nutrition, your training, your mindset. All of a sudden, whether it's intimate or friendships, you start attracting better people into your life. You start performing better at work. You start making more money. You start making better decisions. You start becoming a better parent. And for me, I've just said that for the last 12 years to the level where people are probably sick of hearing about it. But it's like it's the nucleus of everything. Like, and talking about mental health, talking about depression and anxiety and PTSD and all the things, they're all intrinsically related to low energy. And low energy is either created from the environment and the people that you spend time around, or poor nutrition, excessive alcohol and drug use, and not exercising.
A lot of what you mentioned so far, I think, that comes from a lot of reflection. So you strike me as a very reflective character. You're not scared on looking back and looking at your current behaviours. Do you find there's a lot of people, specifically with who you work with, who maybe there's resistance to reflection? And if so, maybe why do you think that is? Because
it's ownership and responsibility. I actually did a podcast with a guy called Joshua Pearson. And at the end of that, I can't remember what I said at the end of the podcast, but he got to the end and he said, the whole theme of everything you've said, from, the mental health to the attempted suicide and everything that you've talked about, is ownership. He went, everything that you've done, no matter how bad it is, whether it's when I was getting into scraps all the time or anything negative that I've done, people I've hurt, I've always found a way to take ownership of it. Now, where I think it comes down with ownership and responsibility, and like you said, when they're in denial about what they need to do to move forward, the cost of ownership and responsibility and stopping out of denial and stopping the smoke and mirrors is then based on your new insights from taking ownership and responsibility. You then have to adapt your behaviour in line with your new insights. You can't take that ownership about, actually, I take responsibility. I'm in charge of my own life. I've made all my own choices. Everything up until this point is a result of the behaviours that I've chosen to make, and I want a new life. If all of a sudden we own up and say that, then we have to adapt our behaviour. And so if I don't take ownership, if I don't reflect, if I just pretend everything's okay, then I don't have to change. And that all builds into identity, because deep down, it's hard to change identity. People might say, typical guy, I want to stop getting on the gear at the weekend, for my kids, and I want to stop drinking, and I want to eat healthy, and I want to change. They'll say to me, I really do, Lee, I really do. And I'm thinking, you fucking full of shit. Because it's just words. Like, show me actions, and then we're talking. But the reality is, it's also not that person's fault, because if you've been that person for 10 years, that's like rewiring a house that's been wired for 10 years. It's going to take time. This is what, I don't know if you study any of the stuff with Dr. Joe Dispenza and the neuroplasticity and kind of quantum physics end of it, but he very much sees it as, all our thoughts are hardwired, and everything comes from a thought. So it's ridiculous as this, I'm thirsty, I want some of this water. Thought, action, behaviour, outcome.
It's funny you should say that, actually, because I've got an amazing client who's a psychologist. Yeah. She talks about thoughts, feelings, behaviours.
Yeah,
and she says,
thoughts are obviously the brain, and feelings are almost the thinking centre of the body. So what he talks about is like where that's hardwired in, and that's become that person's identity. So it's Big Fat John that everyone loves, and he can't wait to get a bag in at the weekend, and he's always the life and soul of the party, and he's deep down, John's probably really insecure, but that's his identity. And then in order to change, he has to create a completely new identity, and that's fucking hard. I don't care what anyone says. Like, you can't be that person for 10 years and then someone just go, oh, you need to sort your shit out, and you change. And it takes time. And the way the kind of the quantum end of it and the physics end. So if you think, basically every thought that we have in life leads to a belief. a repetitive thought becomes a belief. That's what religion is. That's why, something like Jehovah's Witnesses, they can just stand downstairs and just repeat it as a belief because it's a repetitive thought that they've had over and over and over again until it's that hardwired in. Religious people can often just recite pages and pages and pages of books, aren't they? So the thought becomes a belief. The belief becomes how we behave, and how we behave is basically our personal reality or the life that we live. But the way those, the thoughts build in as well, and we can create new thoughts that create new beliefs, that create new behaviours, that create a new outcome, just like the old thoughts are creating old behaviours, old beliefs and old outcomes. But it doesn't happen overnight. And the way it's described to take action towards it, with the difference between the thoughts and the feelings. So you see all this stuff emblazoned over gyms, and it's like, if you see it, you can believe it. Kind of agree, yeah, and there's all the manifestation stuff, but I'm very much, manifestation doesn't even exist without hard work. But when we talk about that angle, so let's take a guy, right, who wants to lose 3 stone, and deep down he doesn't really believe that he's ever going to lose that weight. He doesn't believe that he's ever going to stop going to the pub, stop getting the chippy tea on the way home, stand up to the workmates that take the piss out of him when he takes healthy food to work. Then it's not about the belief thing. It's the fact that if you don't believe you can actually get the thing, then you're never inspired to do the work towards it. Because if you don't ever believe that you're truly going to lose the weight, why are you going to be inspired to go for the run? There's no point, because you don't believe you're ever going to get the thing. So the belief for me isn't about the wishy-washy. You can't achieve it because you can believe it and see it. You need to believe it to a level where you're just constantly inspired to take action towards it, which comes from the thoughts that lead to the beliefs, that lead to the actions, which lead to the new personal reality. And they always come from 2 angles. People are all either shackled by memories of the past, or they're inspired and pulled by a vision of the future. But again, that's the connection of the neuroplasticity between the 2 things. So it's connecting the thoughts to the feelings. So that's what meditation is. Meditation literally means to become familiar with. So I want to become familiar with a new self, which is why I meditate 15 minutes every morning and every night. And I am actually seeing my future. I'm feeling my future down to the level of, I can see the house that I'm going to live in. I can see the villa that I want in Ibiza. I can see Logan coming down the slide into the pool, almost like I'm literally transcendental, like I'm there. But doing that for 15 minutes isn't going to get me those things. Just like it's not going to lose John the weight. But what it's going to do, if I can believe that on such a deep level, that I feel that I already am that person, and that everything that I want is already mine, to the level where I'm constantly inspired to take work to work towards it every single day, how am I going to show up in the morning? Like if you imagine like if you both sit here now and you imagine that you already have everything that you want, whether it's the money, the house, the life, the career, the partner, the success, just the happiness, whatever it is that you truly, truly desire. And you believe that, and you see that on such a deep level that you believe all you need to keep showing up and that will be yours. How would you wake up in the morning? Confident, energized, happy. It's not about brain trickery. It's about just believing that you can become, you need to become the person to get the thing before you think about becoming the thing. This is what I talk about all the time.
We interviewed Noor Hibbert recently, didn't we? And she's kind of
Who was that,
mother of Noor Hibbert. Have you heard of Noor
Yes,
Hibbert?
I have, yeah.
She's an old client of mine, and she is the mother of manifesting, I would say.
Yeah.
Mother of manifesting, she'll claim that. Definitely. Put a TM on end of that.
And she has exactly the same ideas around that. I think she works on a lot of those kind of practices with her own clients, getting them to manifest and believe. To seeing is believing. And I think you mentioned that quote, but there is got to be a good solid plan behind it, and she totally understands that.
Manifest to a level where you believe it on a level that you're just inspired to do the work towards it. Two stories I always share, that because they're so similar, and it was so funny how they happened at exactly the same time. So Emma Raducanu, the tennis player, so her flights from the fight were booked before the quarterfinal. The flights for her, the flights for her team. Nobody believed she could win that Grand Slam. Not her, not her coach, not the LTA, not British Tennis, nobody. So does that not prove that you don't need to believe? What did she do? She just turned up and kept fucking hitting balls. With everything she had in her. She didn't believe she could win. She didn't think she would win. She wasn't even thinking about winning. And if you take that away in life and you just show up, then that's a lot more powerful for me than manifesting. And when I was in the same mentorship with Paul Moore, we always do a design your dream life kind of hot pen technique goals at the start of the year. And I'd put that I wanted to be, his top program's called Elite X, that I wanted to be the Elite X Man of the Year. I didn't believe I could do it. There's guys in there that were earning like 200 grand a month, like big CEOs, businessmen. But I thought, right, I can still put it down. And then Paul had mentioned at the time, it's not just about income, it's about who contributes. Because one of the, the Tony Robbins human needs, obviously the last two are growth and contribution. So I thought, right, I'm just going to show up. I want to make sure I'm on every training session. I'm going to help everyone as much as I could. Did that whole year. Didn't fucking believe for a second I could win it, to the level that I was quite ill at the time. I had a chest infection and there was the award ceremony. And I just said to Kathy, who's assistant, I said, I can't make it. I can't go into that environment being ill. 3 days before, I got a text message from Paul saying, like, I can neither confirm or deny that you might possibly have won an award. How could you possibly get yourself to Self Shields on Friday night? Because I think you might want to be there. So I was like, fucking hell, I remember like welling up and bawling my eyes out because I'd worked so hard. I think I was on a lot of amoxicillin at the time as well. I had 3 days to like get a dress suit, get it fitted and get up there. But again, it's just another two amazing stories of, I don't think you actually have to believe. If you have a plan and you're willing to show up and do the work, then you'll get the result. Self-belief helps.
I can back up that hot pen technique as well. That is the wildest thing. It's wild. Yeah, just literally 15 minutes, constant writing.
Yeah,
constant
I call it bypass the bullshit.
It is mad.
But what's that? To describe that to me, what's the hot pen technique?
So you don't take your pen. So you basically, there's lots of mentors that do it. Paul does it. Peter Sage does it. I think it's been passed down from mentor to mentor to mentor. But basically, you would say it's December. What we're in now, February. So if you were doing it now, you say it's February the 12th, 2028, and my life is so incredible and amazing because people like I've done it with all my clients recorded. Every single one of them's in tears because you prompt them and you can't stop. And you're not allowed, like, so when I'm doing it, I'm saying, even if you're saying, I did it live on stage, even if you're saying, shut the fuck up, Lee, I'm trying to write and you're kind of driving me mad, write that, but do not stop writing.
Wow.
So it's, when I said it's bypassing the bullshit, what's basically happened is most people know what they want, right? But they won't say, I want to be a millionaire. I don't want to be a millionaire. I want to be a billionaire one day. I want a Ferrari. I want my villa in Ibiza. I want all of that. Not because I'm materialistic, because I like those things. I have massive goals. But what happens is we then set those goals. We know deep down that's what we want. I'd be fucking buzzing if I got that. But then we get stuck because we go, I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. Same as the weight loss person. I'm never going to lose that. I'll never have a body like hers. So we don't even try. We're back to the same conversation we just literally had 3 minutes ago about thoughts lead to beliefs, lead to behaviours. They had the thought they want it, then they had the belief that they can't get it, so the behaviour led to they didn't even try. And then it reverses around the other way. So when you do the hot pen technique, it's bypassing your mind so hard because you can't stop writing.
I'll have to watch someone online.
I'll send you the, if you go to, on my YouTube, I called it Designing Your Dream Life. I'll send you the video.
Send a link.
I'll send you the video.
Absolutely. Yeah. Speaking about you, you've lived a very eclectic life. Like, you've done a lot of different things. Just talk us through, I guess, some of the wild stuff you've done. Like you mentioned DJing, you mentioned being in fights, you mentioned a lot, broken your neck. Like, you know, what's
like even that one reel that was on Instagram the other day, someone like literally commented on it and they was like, is there anything you haven't fucking done?
Yeah.
And I'm like, it is actually
what's led you down all these different paths? Why have you chosen all these different
ADHD.
Do you get bored of things easily? Is that what it is?
Fuck yeah, now it's a standard joke. Like I'll be like, I'm gonna play golf, right? And then I'll go and get like the pin clubs and the 3 shirts and the outfits. 3 weeks later, they're just in garage next to the fishing stuff and the canoe from Decathlon and whatever else. And I have to be so careful with it with business because it's like I've got shiny object syndrome big time. Like I have to shut down on mentors trying to sell things to you because it's like people say, oh yeah, just do this course and you'll just run this Facebook ad and you'll make like 60 grand in 3 days without leaving your bedroom. Oh yeah. Impulsivity, and just crazy chasing dopamine. So if I look back now, everything from this is the classic going off on the tangent now, but someone asked me as well, when did you first realise that you wanted like a good body? And it was like, I remember watching, how old are you guys?
We're both 33.
Both 33.
33. So you were a little bit before the Pamela Anderson in Baywatch days, although you might have caught some of the reruns.
Back end of that, yeah.
Back end of
There's
it.
a nice image just cropped up in my mind.
Yeah,
so I know what you mean.
So across between this is a classic lead tangent. So across between that and Gladiators at the time when, you know, Lightning and Jet were fit as fuck. But now you look back at the pictures, you're thinking, fucking hell. Was that fit back then? Anyway, so I was then thinking, I was like, I wanted to be like the male lifeguards in Baywatch because they had these incredible bodies and they got all the hot girls and they were walking down the beach and they were saving people. It was just like, that's the dream. Like, I want to be on Baywatch. I want to be a lifeguard. And then as it went through, it's like, well, that's a dopamine thing, really, isn't it? Because you're the hero when you save lives. You've got the good and everything from there. Rugby, like obsessed with scoring tries, just used to practice. I was playing men's first 15 rugby for Hitchin when I was 15, and just, you know, when it then became, so we weren't going to talk about this, but when it obviously then became toxic was then discovering drugs. And DJing, like, what's the ultimate DJ? What ultimate fucking dopamine hit? One is Class A drugs. Second one is dropping a fucking tune in front of 2,000 people and seeing them going wild. So I then became addicted to that, but then was like addicted to training and getting in shape and chasing money and chasing like business.
You have that addictive personality.
Yeah,
once
like,
you find something you're all in.
Yeah, and it's funny because Zach and I just filmed some reels about it this morning, and one of the reels was, you know, men are hunters. Like we're designed to hunt, to chase, to get things, to protect and provide, and there's very much that person within me. But, you know, with ADHD, it can just go to a whole new level where you're just chasing things that hard, and that's why I, you know, had to work with some therapists on it because nothing's ever enough.
When did you get diagnosed with ADHD? 4
years ago now.
Did that piece together quite a lot in your mind?
All of a sudden, everything made sense. That's why I behave like that. But again, I don't see it as a negative, and again, that's why it can sometimes trigger me. There's so many different thoughts. I think we're all ADHD in some format. I think we're all on the autism spectrum in some format. Everyone's bipolar in some format. You can't have happy without sad. You can't. No one can be. People say, "Oh, so and so is fearless." You can't be, because you can't have fear without courage. You can't have good days without bad days. And this is what people need. You can't be happy without sad. You can't have love without hate. This is why some of the people we love the most do our fucking heads in. But in regards to, you know, all of those situations and understanding it was now realising, like, okay, that's why I behave that way. And when I worked with Kieran, you know, he, you know, even said in himself, that's why it's a good thing for me, because that's why, and that wasn't actually a joke saying, how have you done so many things? You know, ADHD, because when my mind's on fire and I'm going after things, I'm just non-stop. But where it ends for me is sometimes I don't know how to stop. So it's like I can work, easily get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, work till 10, 11 o'clock at night. But then even when it gets to 10, 11 o'clock at night, I'm getting nervous because I have to stop. and I don't know what to do when I stop. So, I mean, and you know, Logan has actually helped with that. And
going back to the kind of the drugs, the DJ and stuff, you know, when did all that end? When was it the Logan thing? Was it wake up in the morning one day and seeing, like, you know, your little kid wants your attention, you're not there and present? When did you draw a line under that and go, that's in the past now?
When you make the decision to. When you make the decision that you're going to change.
What was there something that triggered that though? Was there a moment where you woke up and went, I can't do this anymore?
Yeah, that after the breaking the neck incident in 2012, when I was just like,
how did that happen?
It was broke my neck playing rugby for Sheffield.
Did you?
Yeah,
wow.
And then was getting very toxic with the behaviour afterwards, and obviously we didn't talk about it a lot, but you know, it was an epiphany back to my mum died when I was 6 months old, and when I was getting, you know, really down and depressed and bad with things, I just sat there one day and I was like, it was before Logan, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing with your life? And it's, again, something that people can take away is the same story can mean two different things. So you can say, I don't achieve this, or I can't do X, or X, Y, and Z because of ADHD. Or I can say, actually, ADHD is my fucking superpower. I'm glad Logan's got it because I'm going to teach him how to use it. Because when you channel it, Mel Robbins, ADHD. David Goggins, ADHD. You can't use it as an excuse for not doing things, but you have to learn how to use it, the same as anything else. And the same thing was with the story. Well, this is what, you know, and it does break my heart to discuss these things now, but sometimes you need to be vulnerable and authentic. So every single time that I got into a fight or punched someone's head in, again, dopamine was down at the time, made me feel good, went out, got on it, DJing gigs, all of those situations, and it went too far. I did it because my mum died when I was 6 months old. I took drugs because my mum died when I was 6 months. Everything, because it's like a get out clause, and that's what people do.
So that's what you were doing. You were telling yourself that story in your
telling
mind.
Myself and
this is the reason why it's okay.
Telling myself and other people. It's like you can, and this is why mental health titles can be so dangerous, because it becomes part of your identity, and it also becomes a get out clause. Like, oh, I take drugs because of my mental health. No, your mental health's fucked because you take drugs. That's really harsh, but in many cases it's really, really true. Oh, I drink because I'm struggling with my mental health. No, you're struggling with your mental health because you're drinking. But in the story that I was going to say, the epiphany when I woke up, I'm like, that day, and it's what I opened Mindset Mastery with, it's like, I can either use my mum dying at 6 months old as the reason, the excuse, and the get out clause as to why I'm doing all these negative things, or I can use her as the reason why I ran 200 miles, why I'm a great dad, why I help people, why I'm inspired, because she's living on through me. That's the way I see it now. I see her as being here with me now. It's really special. I actually saw my godfather this weekend, and he met Logan for the first thing. He was the junior doctor. He went on to be a senior physician at Addenbrooke's in Cambridge. It was the first time I've seen him in years. But again, it's understanding, do you want to use that story? You can use the same story to inspire you, or you can use the same story to keep you stuck. That's a choice.
I love that message of she lives on through you. It's a great and unbelievable way of reframing it. Obviously, you know, we spoke about your dad and things like that. Do you feel that same way with your dad?
Yeah, it took a while, and I think the reflection point of, I can either use this as an excuse and tie it to my identity, which I think I did for a long time.
Yeah,
it were definitely something to bond with and connect to, but for me it's better when it comes out in the wash sometimes. Like, you talk to people, you connect to people, you realise what they've gone through. I'm always curious to know, especially when people have gone through that, I'm going to say a transformative sort of journey that you've gone through. If you spoke to Lee at 20 years old, or maybe in his early teens, do you think he'd listen? Would he take you seriously?
Lee was all right in his teens. Lee was all right in his early 20s. It wasn't until the party life started happening that things went wrong.
What age was that?
Very late starter. 21, 22, 23. So I wasn't someone who, I'd lived a relatively happy life up until that point, and that's why, like I said, you do feel a bit ashamed and vulnerable, and it breaks your heart, but we're all humans and we all make mistakes, and you can't ever judge anyone for that, and nobody can ever hurt you with your past if you don't live there anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
You're the opposite to me there. I stopped at 23.
Yeah.
I started at like 15, 16. I grew up in Manchester, and we were in like Sankey's in Manchester.
I DJ'd there.
Did you really?
Yeah, when it was the boutique upstairs, when it was white.
Yeah.
Before it changed to old Sankey's.
Yeah, the fancy lights, isn't it? When
Supported Axel and John Carter. It's good.
Mad thing that I might have been there when you were maybe DJ. But we were sneaking into those clubs, taking all sorts. And then that lifestyle lasted from like 15, 16 until about 23 when I set up R5, and it was like, right, I've done it all.
Wow, so R5 been going that long?
10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, that's it, I'm done.
That was why, in the hindsight, when you think about it, right? So all through like those early years, still had the dopamine thing, which I didn't even realise at the time. Like, had to be the best rugby player, had just to be the best of everything, and a lot of that was related to some early trauma stuff about abandonment issues and not feeling like you're good enough. So I always had to prove that I was the best. I always had to win. And it was like to get, which I had to rehandle now as well. To get validation, to get significance, almost like I had to do things to get people to love me because I didn't feel kind of loved because of what had happened, but. That was when you look back and you think, well, hang on. You got diagnosed with anxiety, depression, bipolar, personality disorder, ADHD, the whole fucking shebang, which then you can take them on board as your identity. Because what do people get that have got all those labels? Extra love, extra affection, bit of sympathy, all the things that I'd wanted in the first place, that I was doing things to seek validation and significance to get. So all of a sudden, not only does it become an excuse for toxic behaviour because people feel sorry for you because it becomes your identity, it also gets you some of the love and attention that you probably wanted. So you become a little bit addicted to having these mental health conditions because they get you extra love and affection. Now, where I was really honest about it, as I said, I didn't start, partying and taking drugs until well into my 20s. Well, none of those conditions were ever relevant before. I never spoke about my mum dying for any toxic behaviour up until 24, 25. So, in hindsight, I don't think it was a result of that. It's a result of stopping looking after yourself, stopping training, partying too much, until, hey-ho, maybe you didn't have depression, Lee. Maybe your energy just got really low because the amount of shit that you've put in your body for the last 5 years, and now it's got too bad and you don't know how to get out of it because you're not getting the help and support that you want. So, you start using that as the reason, when in fact, how many people actually have these conditions when they're in their teens, when they're not boozing, they're not getting on the gear at the weekend, they're exercising a reasonable amount because they have to in PE at school.
This is why I love podcasts, because I think you've done an amazing job talking about those neurodivergent needs, the labels.
Yeah.
If you're on social media trying to clip that up, that is so triggering and volatile, but I love adding context to things, and I honestly think you've spoken about it really well from a personal level, and I appreciate it.
And it's I'll never tell Logan he's different. I'll tell him he's special. You're special, mate. Mm-hmm. This puts you above other people. This is
using that label of superpower is absolutely right. Yeah, for sure. I think that with my obsessive nature sometimes, and I know that. I have to tell you this funny story. When my missus was in labour, I got addicted to a Sims game. Yeah, and it was so bad.
I got addicted to flapjack from the machine, the vending machine in reception.
Stress flapjacks.
But she was out of it. She was asleep. So I got addicted to this game. And then when the time came to go, I was like, I've just finished this one thing. He was like, go over here right now. And I kind of extended after the birth as well. But I can trigger it in a really bad way. It can go down that path, but it can also be very obsessive, and I get a lot done, and I get very into things, and I want to succeed, and I want to make things work, and I'll do everything I can to make sure this is the best it can be, and that's my obsessive nature. So it's about channeling it in a certain way. And you're absolutely right. There's so many benefits to being ADHD. Like the focus is really good sometimes, but it can also be really shit if you're not careful. So I think understanding your personal kind of relationship with your
it's learning when
ADHD.
When to push and when to surrender as well, which I think is the same with training and business. Sometimes you need to be in a push period in your business, and sometimes you need to learn when to pull back. Same as training in the gym. You can't push all the time. It's a one-way road to burnout. But now, if, like I say, you know, all the techniques that I've got in place, which I help teach other people in terms of blocking out distractions and work blocks and not context hopping between different jobs. So, you know, if we're on marketing, we're not doing check-ins and sales calls at the same time, and putting all these processes in place that help with razor sharp, you know, discipline and focus on one job. Because again, I triggered the hell out of someone and put overwhelms and myth. Overwhelm and distraction is just an inability to focus on one job at a time until it's done. So again, get all your jobs on one piece of paper. What's most urgent and most important, put that on one piece of paper, put that one in a drawer, turn everything off, and don't do anything until that one's finished. Again, adapting things like Parkinson's law. So figure out how long that task takes. Oh, it actually takes 35 minutes, right? You've got from 1 until 1:35. If you've got 2 hours, you'll make it last 2 hours. End up fucking around on Sims and whatever else in between.
It's in the past, that by the way. I'm fully off Sims now.
But it's also learning now. If like mine will go. Head will go haywire at that point. So I might have 30 conversations going off in my head. I've opened up loads of tabs and I'm just like, I don't know how to get out of this. And I'll just literally go laptop down, everything can wait, go for a walk, leave my phone at home, or go and put a box set on and just I'm just gonna surrender to this until this hyperactivity calms back down, and then I'll go again and I'm ready, and you know, life's not going anywhere.
Love that. The key word you've mentioned so far, Lee, is energy.
Yeah.
And one of the key questions that I got asked when I asked a couple of people, I'm like, have you got any questions for Lee?
Yeah.
A couple of people said when you get into your 40s, we get the dreaded testosterone drop.
Yeah.
And obviously the energy dips. When you work with new clients, men in particular, are there any tips that you've got for them who can maybe
go and get them checked?
Yeah, just if they suspect it, go and get them checked.
TRT's got to be one of the most hotly debated subjects at the minute, and people
on that?
Take it. If your testosterone's low, get it fucking sorted. Like the amount of it's crazy when you think about it. So I was listening to a podcast with the guy the other day. I can't remember his name. He's like an ex kind of real steroid bodybuilder who now rehabs people in it. I can't think of what his name is. But he was saying how it's crazy how like people can go out on the weekend, right? They could walk in, this could be an office, right? And you walk into the office and I'm like, hey, how's your weekend? You'd be like, oh, I feel like shit. I fucking got smashed on the weekend, fucking got really off my head, got pissed, and you know, all went tits up. Oh, you'll be all right, don't worry about it. Someone could come in, clean eating, healthy eating, hydration, walks, trains, great father, but they're taking TRT. Oh, fucking run across the other side of the office because there's all these misconceptions about it. It's a naturally occurring hormone in the body. Sorry, ladies, but no one says anything against like fake boobs or lips or all of those kind of things. It's the same as creatine. It's a male hormone that's naturally in the body. Now, there's a very big difference between TRT to pull your body up to the natural levels where they should be to be a healthy functioning male in your 40s, and banging in 3.5 mil of testosterone per week, which is just complete bodily abuse. So for me, I'm neither pro or anti either of them, but what I am is pro education. So speak to the right people, get the advice, don't just go on TRT, go and get your bloods checked and go on the right amount of TRT. Why
do you think it's got such a bad rap? Because I've got theories for this, and I'm not very happy how it's pushed in the narrative in the media. There's a fantastic page on Instagram called The Tin Men, run from a guy called George, and he's very informative. Talks a lot about young men, and I suppose the way masculinity and testosterone and stuff like that is pushed in the media. Have you got any theories on maybe why it's got that bad narrative?
So I think it's, if we take something like steroids and roid rage as an example, again, I just think it's a person problem. And I don't truly believe those things exist. So if you give low energy, toxic, angry Dave 4 pints of Stella, he's probably going to want to fight the whole pub. If you give him even half a mil of test, he's probably going to shag anything with a pulse, ruin his relationship, and start wanting to kick people's heads in. Then we've got high energy, relaxed, calm Dave, who looks after himself, his energy and his life, and you give him 4 pints of Stella, he just wants to kiss everyone in the pub. He's the happiest person you've ever seen. You put him on TRT and he probably won't have any effect. So I think it's deeply related to the person and the personality, and it's like we're going round and round in circles here. If you give a low energy, angry person with abandonment, trauma issues and all this past stuff, if he has something like TRT, could it have a negative reaction? Quite possibly, yeah. So again, I think it's, each case is down to the individual and the circumstances, and they should be medically assessed and given the right amount based on getting your bloods done, not getting it from Big Dave at the gym because it's cheaper, who's going to probably tell you to take 3 other different compounds and 4 times more than you should do because that's how he makes his money, and getting the right advice on it.
Sounds simple, doesn't it?
Yeah,
sounds really simple. But one sort of theme I'm getting from you, Lee, is do the work, do the self-reflection, take the ownership,
and just get your bloods done. Probably as well why it's got a bad rep is that people who don't have low testosterone are taking TRT. It's a whole subject. It's a whole different podcast, that, isn't it? But
100%.
Again,
have you got experience with TRT?
There's people claiming to be on TRT, which is about TRT times 10.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Because it's just a different amount, isn't it? I know I haven't got low testosterone. So
No.
In fact, I'm probably too far the other way as it
Really?
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Too masculine.
Too much of a man.
Too jacked.
Yeah. just too energetic. But again, it's like I wasn't always that way. But I don't drink. I don't smoke. I train hard. I get up early. Focus on my goals every morning. I've got a vision. And I've got an exciting vision of my future that I want to work towards every day.
Yep.
And then I've got the right meaning and why and emotional leverage behind it, which is that little 6-year-old who's watching my every move, and I want him to have the best life.
Purpose. That's all it comes down to, isn't
That's
it?
it. Meaning and purpose. Every single mental health case that I've worked with, from people out of rehab to people that I'm talking seriously suicidal, as in they were turned on the call from doing it, they've all got one thing in common. There's one common denominator between every single person with suicidal thoughts and depression, and that's that they can't see an exciting vision of their future. So that's when leads into the what's the point? But again, like you said, with ownership and responsibility and reflection, you have to create that vision.
Where does someone start? Let's say you've got one of our listeners is listening right now, and they're that person. They can't see a big future for themselves. They're feeling those depressive thoughts creeping in more and more often. You've mentioned obviously a little bit of the manifesting and the reflection. Where would you start with that? Like, how would someone get started with meditation, for example?
So the simplest thing, you know, again, it's people will say, I can't afford therapy, I can't afford coaching. Many people can't, but YouTube's free last time I checked, and it's probably the best free resource in the world. Almost every single thing of Joe Dispenza's is on there, every single mental health book, every single mindset book. Get up early, go for a walk, get out in daylight, get your circadian rhythm in place, and just start doing some mindset work, and just take one day at a time. That's all it is. When people are struggling, they think they need to fix all the things all at once. and they just need to take one step. And again, if we go down the road of, right, I need to sort my nutrition, I need to start going to the gym, I need to start journaling, I need to start meditating, overwhelm. Just start with something small and think, what can I do that makes me feel better? Who can I spend time with that I feel good around? Not who, what happens is depressed people attract depressed people, and then they all sit in a room talking about depressed things. Like, no wonder they feel depressed. And just those small steps, and just take it one day at a time. But you have to be willing to try. And some people aren't. And this is one of the saddest things and the hardest things to pull someone out of, is that they're that resistant to letting go of their story. Because if they stop telling their story about how sad they are, how miserable they are, how badly their ex-husband treated them, about a past bereavement, about anything that's negative in the world, the reality is sometimes they've gone that far. If they weren't talking about that, they wouldn't fucking have anything to say.
And there's no reason now they can't do the things that they should be doing.
No, and everything can. But going back to what we said about the Joe Dispenza stuff, every single thing starts with a thought. So if you're having a negative thought, you can have a positive thought. It's what the Rhonda Byrne series, the Secret book's based on. That was the first personal development book I ever read, by the way. That's the one. That's the one that turned me. I don't believe you can manifest yourself to your perfect way, or I certainly don't believe that if
I'm still 50-50 on.
If I think about my dream trainers, all of a sudden they're going to be up there on that lamp looking at me. But she's very right. But it's the like thoughts, and the way you do it is you have to start catching your negative thoughts. You have to become aware of the way you're thinking. Right? Why am I thinking that person's out of order? Is that serving me? No. What can I change that thought to? And the number one thing that everyone can do, unless they're resistant to it, which essentially means they're more committed to staying the same than they are changing, is gratitude. It's the biggest grounding thing in the world. Gratitude is a prerequisite for a happy life. And wealth is nothing more than a feeling of abundance triggered by gratitude. So if you're in a fucking hole, and I've been in some fucking holes, I'll tell you that.
Read about what you will.
Yeah, I was about to say a little bit.
No, I put it in gutter then, Lee. Sorry, mate.
Yeah,
put it in the gutter.
Knowing your history as well.
You can always stop and say, right, get a piece of paper out. And if you're also struggling with your partner or partners or ex-partners, so I've got something here that'll help you. So just write down 10 things that you're grateful for. Ask better questions. Questions are the steering wheel of the mind. What can I do to change? How can I change my environment? What's my state? Why is it low? Have a cold shower, eat some healthy food, ring an old friend. But gratitude will just, again, I haven't really got anything to be gratitude for. Well, there's little kids in Somalia that are grateful for a football and a cup of rice and some music. They're not moaning. They're not blaming. They're not complaining. They're not justifying. And I know that's hard to hear if you're, as I said, in a deep hole. But everyone has got something to be grateful for. Everyone's got someone that loves them. Health, roof over their head, mobile phone, clean water. But again, some people will not want to do that because they're more committed to telling the story about why it's different for them. And you have to drop that story. And again, if you're, this is the level that I've got to now, and I'm still not perfect by any means, but even every time someone's angry or negative towards me, I see that as an opportunity to practice kindness and compassion. It's a test. Don't react.
I relate to that a lot. I really do.
If you get
as a parent,
every time you get triggered is an opportunity to practice. And it shows your. And there's a great book called Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Gorman, and what he talks about is emotional intelligence is the point when you get triggered and whether you decide to react or not. So you can stop and process it and think, is what I'm about to say or do going to make me or the other person feel positive? If not, just don't do it.
The big game changer for me was when I read The Chimp Paradox.
Yeah.
And that because I can relate to a lot of your story. Like I was aggressive as a kid. Like I was. So I'm just going to pull Walty out of there.
Come on, Walter.
He's all right. He's all right. I was just checking. Yeah, I was just checking that I was stroking the dog, not playing footsie with you.
I wouldn't mind that. Mate. I would have given it you back, mate. I'm not going to lie.
Take what we can of that.
But yeah, like I was a moment in my life where my big thrill was going out and getting in a scrap on a Saturday night.
Yeah.
Actually, I got a real buzz from that. I'm ashamed to admit it because it was a dark period in my life. But I think that when I read the Chimp Paradox, it really set a few things straight in my mind of like, oh, I'm just going through life reacting to every single thing, and I'm getting a kick out of certain things, being drawn to those. I've got no real control of where I'm heading, what I'm doing. I'm just literally
out of control.
I'm like a little hurricane going through Sheffield here, and I need to kind of get a sense of who I am, where I want to be, what I want to do, and that in itself is quite uplifting. You feel quite empowered when you have a control over your thoughts and emotions and actions. That in itself is quite like, okay, I'm heading in a much clearer path here. And I think come back to if someone is feeling a little bit down, depressed, not great about themselves, start with your thoughts, like you said. Start with kind of the positivity around where your mind is in certain situations.
What can I do right now to change this state? There's always something.
It's a great quality question as well.
Just go for a walk. This is another thing as well that's blown so many people's heads when I've asked them if someone's been having a proper rant about their partner or their ex or their kids or anyone, and I'll just say, what's 5 things you love and appreciate about them? And when they stop and think, and they're like, their energy just changes. And it's like you can either focus on what you hate about someone or you can focus on what you love and appreciate about them. Like, that's a choice.
You've clearly done, Lee, a lot of self-reflection, a lot of self-development. I'd love to know about 2 words, really. Elite man is 2 sort of words that when you first explained it to me and when Ryan first brought it up in the intro, what do those 2 words mean to you?
So, elite man. I wanted to start a new coaching program, and I'd originally called it Alpha Man, but I think, again, even building into what you said about masculinity and TRT and all those things, alpha can be a bit of a misconstrued word if you don't understand. It can be quite a toxic kind of. Whereas elite man for me, so it's a group of men who hold themselves and each other to a higher standard. They value their health. They value their career. They value the kids. They want to be the example, not the warning, and they just want the best in everything, not just for themselves, but for their family.
Is this a community that you created? Do you want to build this into like
it's a
group of guys?
It's a community. So it's Unbreakable is still as it is as an event, but Elites, it's a men's only coaching program for business owners and men that just are dedicated to achieving more and they want a better life.
Some people think of as elite as like earning a certain amount or having a certain physique. Is this something that you want to open up to certain people, or is it like anyone who just wants to be at that level?
No, it's not. There's going to be serious standards to get in, which again I think is something that's scorned upon now, and it shouldn't be. To get into the police or the army, you need to be at a certain level and do a certain fitness test. This isn't. What are the standards of your elite program? This neatest thing. So it's not about money. It's about how they show up and what they want. But again, to me, an elite alpha man, he takes pride in how he dresses. He respects other people in his life. He values training. He values nutrition. And he's a role model to his kids. And it's, a group of, I think it can become very lonely as a dad and as a business owner. And men can get very, very lost, which was part of the reason behind it. So again, it's a community of men. So we're doing the fan dance, which is the SAS selection test in March.
Wow.
Do some of the breath work at Lake Buttermere, get on hikes and stuff, and just give men a community.
How do you get onto the fan dance? How do you is there a kind of program that you can sign up for that? Is it
so they've all the guys have got a training plan to do it as well.
So you've designed that for them?
Yeah, so I designed all the training program. I was very, very lucky to do it with Ollie Ollerton 3 years ago. So got to know all the route and stuff because the actual routes, I think the start route is actually quite closely guarded.
Right.
But yeah, we bizarrely did it on the set. We did it with him and his company Breakpoint on the same day that the actual SAS recruits were doing it.
Oh wow!
And the timings had to change because they got in touch with him 2 days before the event and said, "This literally can't happen." So we had to set off 2 hours.
Did you see the SAS guys?
Yeah, 2 hours after them. Yeah, so we set off. They're all sort of up on the hill with like orange things on top of the backpacks. So they'd obviously set off, and then we set off 2 hours afterwards. It's just crazy seeing them come back
being shoulder to shoulder. Those guys must be quite inspiring.
The Gurkhas at the front, it's a different league of fitness. It's like they're on a hill but on a skateboard going upwards, just gliding over.
Wow.
And it was, it's some test.
Was that inspiring for you to see that level?
Yeah, inspiring. And just this is what's going back to elite man. It's getting around those types of people. Like I want to create something and be around people. Like you will have experienced both of these. You can walk into a room or a group of people and you can feel instantly inspired, instantly energetic. Yes, this is a good fucking vibe. These are fucking good lads. These are my people. Or you can walk into a room or meet one person, and again, there's certain people I've had in my life, or with one of my ex-partners had a certain friend, and I used to know when she'd come back from seeing that friend because her energy was always a 10. Fucking hell, when she'd been this friend, she'd come back a 3, and I'd like, "You've been CX, haven't you?" And she'd be like, "Yeah, how do you know?" And I'm like, "Because you look like you're fucking nearly as depressed as she is." But it's that same thing. Environment
depends how hippy dippy you want to get. We mentioned about like frequencies on the podcast before. Like people have a certain frequency around them, and just those two frequencies, yours and theirs, just vibe. He'll be a pest, by the way. Anyway, once you've stroked him once, his nose will be there.
It's like Tony Robbins says one of Tony Robbins' famous quotes, isn't it, about the law of proximity and environment trumps will. So, if you hang around with 5 losers who don't have any career aspirations and all they do is eat shit, smoke weed every weekend and talk to their missus and the kids like shit, then you're going to become the 5th. If you hang around with 5 other inspirational men who've got career goals and they look after themselves and they take pride in how they dress and how they show up and who they are as men and who they are to their kids, and as I said, being the example not the warning, then you're going to also become one of them. And I think that's what a peer group and a community is, and I see this so much. This might trigger a few ex-clients this, but fuck it. I hold people within both Unbreakable and Elite Man to a ridiculously high standard. I hold them to a higher standard of accountability than they hold themselves. Now, what then happens is it makes or breaks people, because when you are part of a community, part of a peer group, you either upscale your behaviour to remain part of that, or you leave the peer group and you go back to your old shitty peer group that doesn't call you out on your bullshit behaviour, isn't honest with you, and quite frankly is glad that you're back because it gives them someone to go back to the pub with every weekend and quote unquote put the world to rights.
You can't help everyone. I've done so many social media posts about, like, as a coach, you want to try and help everyone. You have this kind of, when you take on a new client, you've got this shimmer in your eye, like, I'm going to change you. And I know the path you're going to go. And if you follow that path, you are going to go through a life-changing process. And then when someone doesn't follow that and you can see them falling back into old habits, old excuses, it's so hard to get through to them and say, that isn't you. And they just can't.
That's the biggest coaching lesson that I had to accept, is that you can't help everyone. Because at one point I thought I could, and then it just affected me because I was like, why couldn't I help them? It must be my fault. I'm not good enough as a coach. I must be doing something wrong. There's something wrong in the program. Then the brain would take over. I'm like, right, we need to do something different here. And it's like one of the greatest phrases I've ever heard. And this goes down to friends, family, coaching clients, everyone. If you want something for someone more than they want it for themselves, you're wasting your fucking time.
I've had to set to a few clients where I've said, I want this more than you want it. And that's the worrying thing here. And then they have to go away and have a little think about, do I really want this as much as Ryan? Because then there's that thing of, I know they don't want to let me down either, to a certain degree. So
I think a lot of people want it, but they want it without the hard work.
Everyone wants the view, they don't want to climb. It's that kind of. And it was Chris Williamson who said that, wasn't it? Yeah.
Nothing great will ever be quick and easy, and I'm the person that had that lesson more than anyone else. Certainly in business, the amount of ad campaigns and funnels and fucking shit that I got drawn into from people. You see, it triggers the hell out of me now, because fitness coaches and business mentors, some of them are so fucking corrupt and manipulative because they understand the system. So you see these Facebook ads all the time, and it's like, hey Ryan, come and join my plan. You're going to lose 30 pounds in 5 days and add 40 kg of shredded muscle without going to a gym, while still eating pizza and drinking beer every weekend. Obviously that's an exaggeration, but they just zip in on the prey points, and it's like business coaches are like, make 30 grand a month without ever speaking to anyone or sending cold DMs, ever posting fucking content on social media, or having to do another sales call again. Well, of course you're going to give him your money. They're basically I'm going to list all the things that you really have to do and give up in order to get results, and tell you that you don't need to do them if you pay me X.
I think that's what we really pride ourselves on as coaches. It's one thing why I like doing this podcast with Brad, because Brad's ethics and morals around coaching are good, really, really good. And I think we've had so many conversations on this podcast about what the right way and wrong way to do things is. And we're in a strange place in coaching at the moment, especially with like the wild west of online coaching, where people put preying into those kind of insecurities.
It's getting more like when you see business mentors on Facebook now, it's getting like more and more absurd. It's like some of them are starting to claim that they're making £1 million a month. It's still my £1 million a month funnel idea for $27.
It is, man. I feel like we're all
some of it's so absurd now, though, that you're like, we can start to see through it. It's becoming old.
10 kg of muscle in 3 weeks without going to a gym.
The reason what's happening, I think what's happening now is the people that are really genuine, honest, and have a good message are actually starting to stand out. I think it's like people like, Dr. Mike Israel, for example, is really standing out, because he knows his shit. He's not trying to overly sell anything. He's got some things you can buy if you really want to go down that route. I think it is what it is.
What people are missing out as well, like obviously AI is great, and it's probably one of the most...
Walty, come round here. I'm going to get him round here. Come on, you.
I don't think anything will ever change the world. It's certainly in our lifetime, like AI already has or will. But what I think people are missing out, one thing it can't do is human connection. And the people that concentrate on having a wow factor through human connection, like you said with that, are now going to stand out.
Yeah. Authenticity is really ringing true in everyone's message.
The fact that we're sat having this conversation now probably says that we're all a bit fed up of it.
Yeah.
And Ryan coined something, must have been a few weeks ago now, basically like the authentic revolution is coming.
Yeah.
And it's never been as easy, in my opinion, to stand out by having strong ethics, having strong morals, values, and just, it's probably harder on a personal level because it is authentically you. So if there's any criticism, it stings a bit more.
Yeah.
Whereas if you are inauthentic, potentially that is a little bit of a buffer for any criticism. So I understand why people go down the inauthentic routes. It can be less painful. Whereas putting yourself out there it's hard.
I think online, actually, it was Chris Williamson said this on one of his podcasts. He said it's really difficult, actually, to be authentic, especially when you're in front of a camera.
I disagree.
Do you think so?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'll tell you why.
Well, I think in this format, I think these kind of conversations are very authentic because it's just real people, eye to eye, in the same room. I think it gets a little bit less authentic when you do podcasts over Zoom calls and there's not that kind of rapport. It gets even more inauthentic, I think, when you're sat in your own room with a camera in front of you, just reading off a script. It's very difficult to be yourself. It's actually quite
I think when people say, I used to get asked that all the time by business clients, how do I be more authentic? And the reason why I says I disagree is because obviously you're not asking the right question. You're actually saying, how do I stop trying to be someone that I'm not? Because authenticity is effortless. You're just being yourself. What we're not is, what they're really asking is, how do I stop being inauthentic? And that's what I definitely used to do and I think we all have at periods in life. Maybe because you don't quite have that confidence and self-love in yourself, you try to be someone that you try to be the person that you think people will like. And actually the right people will like you and the other people don't matter.
And I think in certain industries, especially like ours, you can kind of see sometimes what's working for other people, and you're trying to adopt that, and you're like, but it's just not me. And I've had business coaches in the past before who tried to make me do things that maybe I wasn't 100% comfortable with, did them, and I didn't sell it well because I just didn't believe in it. It wasn't me. It wasn't right for me and my brand and my clients. It's not who I am as a coach.
And if it doesn't align, it doesn't align.
Yeah, for sure. And, I've got no regrets. I think you sometimes go down paths and speak to people and do certain things that make you realise what the right path is, and you have to make those mistakes to get there.
100%.
But
it's always a lesson.
Yeah, always.
Everything's always a lesson and a gift if you're willing to accept it.
So, I think it's just life, isn't it? I think nowadays, social media and everything that goes on around being authentic, it's just hard to navigate your way through that. But I think what always trumps is authenticity.
That's another great world-class question. If someone's having a rant, about a situation or a circumstance that's what's happened, I'll just keep interrupting them. What lessons did you learn?
Love that.
Yeah, I know, but and then he ripped me up. What lessons did you learn? Because when they just stop, it's like talking. I always say that we can talk about what's happened, or we can talk about what we want to have happened. Whichever one we do is going to set the tone of the day, isn't it?
My dad used to say, either win or you learn, and it always stuck with me. That I used to love hearing him say it, because he's right. Yeah.
Your authenticity is just. We've all got insecurities. Every single person has got some form of insecurity. And when we're not being ourselves, that's just because we're trying to cover them up. And again, that comes down to, growth and connection, human need, certainty, uncertainty, human need, love and connection. We all want love and connection. And if we fear that, if what I believe we fear, and I certainly did for years, if we remove all the masks, get rid of all our insecurities, and we truly are our authentic self, we're worried that people won't love us. So we try to be someone that we're not to get love. And that psychologically, that goes right back to being a child. Because if you think, you might not know this, but almost every child's first word is no. It's not mummy, it's not daddy. Everyone thinks it is mummy or daddy. Because up until the ages of 0 to 2, you get unconditional love. You can shit on the cream carpet, you can vomit down the brand new top, and you get unconditional love. And then over time, and parents aren't doing this wrongly, it's just they always want the best for the kids, but you get to 3 to 4 to 5, and all of a sudden love starts to become a little bit conditional. Be a good boy and you can have your iPad. Right, I have to do things to get love and attention, and then you can become so conditioned to that over time. And this is why I've done a lot of trauma work with people when essentially almost their whole life's been ruined because they never felt they were good enough for their parents. So they could never be authentic because, and the parents are only pushing them hard to achieve things because they care about them, because they love them, but they're actually pushing them inauthentic into something they don't want to be. And then if they don't get it, they feel like they're not good enough. And then we're in that cycle of, well, then I won't be loved.
It's fascinating. I've never actually considered that, but you're right. It's unconditional up until a certain point, and then once they can start to walk and move more and fend for themselves marginally, then it's kind of like, right, okay, I'll love you if you do it this way. I'll love you if you do it my way.
Whenever we have another coach on, I always like to turn the tables a little bit, because is there any questions you've got for me and Ryan about the industry at large, or whether how we can maybe help our clients? I know how lonely the coaching world can be. So if there's any questions you've got for me and Ryan, we'd love that.
So
I appreciate this is fully on the spot.
Fully on the spot. Based on everything that I said in this podcast, I would like to know, what is your honest, authentic, compelling vision of your future that you're working towards?
I'll go first, Ryan, if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, just because I had something spring to mind straight away.
Okay.
Ryan pulled me up on this a couple of weeks ago because he says, I see a conflict in you.
If you want a pink Lamborghini and a unicorn, you're not allowed to lie.
No, I can confirm. Neither confirm nor deny that that's on the list. Now, for me, I've always had this ambition of working with PTs. I see a huge gap of when people first qualify to having this stable career. And I honestly think that the skill sets that I've got, the management experience, the genuine care that I have, I think that's a a massive arm and a branch of what I can do to service these PTs. And I really do. I definitely see myself going down that route.
Yeah.
And potentially working in more of an education standpoint as well. Because most people, they don't need to know more. They need to learn how to select the best information for them, which is what we call divergent thinking. A lot of people lack those divergent thinking skills where maybe they don't know what the best option is for them.
Yeah.
And I want to help them make that decision.
Love it. Where's your dream home?
Oh, dream home. Do you know what? Weirdly, we've been to Ibiza a lot, and we used to stay in Escanal quite a lot. I love it. And there's a little place called Santialalia, or it might be Santialalia. That's the only place I've ever been abroad where it felt like home, and I'd love to live there.
Amazing.
I really would. Yeah, I really would.
Yeah, brilliant. You both two are going to be Ibiza in the back neighbours,
Yeah,
which you're right.
Can you believe Ryan's never been?
I've never been.
No,
I've been.
It's a great place.
It's great.
The thing is that with my partying like days though, because I ended at 23 really, I never went out there. And when everyone was going in like the late 20s, I never went. No.
There's a little place called San Miguel, which is not far from there on that side of the island. If you like the whole hippie thing, you'll actually love it. There's so many beautiful parts to Ibiza that people don't know about. And there's a beach called Beneiras Beach.
Okay.
And a restaurant called Elements. It's literally one of the best things that's out there that I don't think anyone knows about. A lot of people know about it, but it's not on social media. So you kind of watch the sunset in the cove, and then all the old school hippies come out, and they've all got bongos and flutes, and the kids, and they're basically playing rhythmical music on them as the sun's setting.
Wow.
Proper special little part of the island over there.
Oh, I love that.
But yes, Ibiza's my magical place as well.
Love it.
It's not all MDMA and pills on lying flat.
No, there's even.
When you're back in a club.
I found. See, this is health and fitness and exercise, right? So Nat and I stayed in San Miguel when she was pregnant with Logan, and I got up in the morning and I went for a run because I was obviously still teetotal then. So I'm running through these hills and I'm thinking, what's that over there? There's like a bay in that corner that you could see from, I think it was called St. Gillian, our hotel. So I'm going to run over and find out what it is. So I've run back, I've gone all the way round of Chiringuito, dropped down over this hill. There's this beach and this place called Utopia, and it's like a completely sustainable restaurant. It had like 10 beds, everything's fired off of generators, the water and the food gets in by a boat, and you wouldn't even know it was there without finding it. And that's just another thing about, I found that with running and exploring, you see the world from a different level. You find lakes, you can find stuff in nature.
Whenever I go anywhere, the first thing I do, I love training abroad. It's
nothing like getting out in nature to reset.
Yeah, and I just go on Strava and I just like pick a random route on Strava and I go, fuck it, let's just try that.
Yeah.
And I've been down some sketchy routes. I'm like, this is a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, on that trail app now, there's some great ones.
Is there?
But that would be a thing that I'd say when you said the question earlier about what would you say to that person that's in that hole, switch your phone off, go somewhere like Buttermere, go out in nature for a day, get in a lake, go for a walk, leave your phone. There's nothing like nature to reset, and I think just to ground yourself as well.
They say that about space, don't they? And whenever I've watched documentaries by Brian Cox, I love Brian Cox. He's got a new one on BBC at the moment, and I feel this certain sense of insignificance, but in a very good way. Like when you see how big the world is, how big the universe is, how big the solar system is, and then beyond that, you're like, wow, there's so many cool things out there going on, and we're so lucky to be on a ball flying around the sun, a little bit of algae on this little rock. We literally are that, aren't we? We're a little bit, how lucky are we to be here? How lucky are we to be, sons of our parents? Like, that just makes me feel less depressed a little bit, I think, in a good way.
I always think this makes you laugh, this story as well. So it's, a lot of people with, going back to the parent thing, I think they struggle with feeling they're not good enough. Because especially with social media, there's so much comparison to other people. That person's got a better car, a better house, a better partner, a better life. They're more intelligent. They've got a better body. And I think it's going back to the authenticity as well, that I think realising that you are enough exactly as you were born is so critical for so many people. Because again, parents can make you feel like you're not enough. That's what led to all my behaviours. So because of the abandonment issues as a child, I always felt that I wasn't enough. Otherwise, why was I abandoned? I must have been must have been something wrong with me. I must be kind of worthless. So that was where everything came from in terms of the scoring tries, building the body, buying the cars, buying the houses, making the money, dating models. Like, I'm going to get all these material things around me that prove to the world that I'm good enough. Because deep down, I still don't believe that I am in any way, shape or form.
Even now?
Even now. And I've got a lot better handle on it than I had. And that was through some coaching that I did with a guy called Kieran O'Neill from Total Mental Performance. Is amazing. And at the time, I'd just rented a house that was $2,500 a month that I lived in on my own.
Wow.
4-bedroom house with loads of land and horses and things. And I'd bought a Range Rover on lease. I was just, again, all these material things that... And Kieran said to me, all these things you keep buying. He says, if no one knew you had them, would you still get them? And I was like,
what a question.
Fuck?
Yeah.
And he went, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. And now, like, obviously I was joking about wanting I do want the villa in Ibiza, that's my dream, but that's not to prove I'm good enough, that's not for significance, it's just because that's the dream. But I think if anyone feels like that, they feel like they're not good enough, I want them to know that they are. And the analogy that I love is every single one of us won a 400,000,001 race even to be born.
Yeah.
So we were born a miracle. And when you can rip it right back to understanding that, and that if you can just be yourself, as we said, take off the fucking mask, don't worry about your insecurities, don't worry about the past, and just truly be your authentic self, the right people will love you and be around you, and the other people don't fucking matter. They really don't matter. Anyone who's judging you for being authentic doesn't matter, because every single one of you was born enough. It's just situations, circumstances and people have led you to believe otherwise. So then when they led you to believe otherwise, you thought, I need to change, right? I'm going to mask these insecurities. I'm not going to say what I think. I'm going to hold back out of conversations. I'm not going to stand up for myself. And I'm just going to go with the crowd, because I don't want to risk being excluded from the tribe. And I think if I am just my authentic self, and I think I'm probably overly authentic at times, then people might not like me. And if they don't, what does that do? It goes right back to that childhood fear of not feeling like I'm good enough. And then that cycle continues. When you can just let go of that and go, I am who I am. I was born a miracle. I can look myself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, I'm doing my best.
We all think we're massively different, but sometimes we're not. And obviously some of the thoughts you might have that you think are wildly different to someone else.
Yeah.
Other people actually have it. And it takes you coming out and saying that, and then they get closer to you, and then you start drawing in people that are exactly the same as you.
Yeah.
And you become happy because
that's
you're around
the
people.
Environment again, isn't it?
Yeah. Isn't about, having the flashiest car or the biggest house. It's just about people that understand you for you, your values, your views, and we all share these same things.
Yeah.
I think I probably found that out through the podcast. We've tried to
being around people with shared values is so powerful.
Yeah, that's it. And we've got so many guests we could potentially have on, but I think we try and get on the people that we think are going to have great conversations.
Even
relationships, have a great message.
Even relationships, people don't realise as well. Like, you could be dating the most banging model in the world. If you don't have shared values and interests, it's not getting past 12 months. And again, that's a social media world now, why people are just like shiny object syndrome. And I think that's the same with coaches and clients as well. Like, I will not take on a client without speaking to them for at least 45 minutes on Zoom. 2 reasons. One, I need to know I can get a result with them and be assured they're going to do the work, because if not, it's no good for no one. I don't need more money, I need more success stories. And if I can tell they're going to be a fucking nightmare, I'll really politely say, I don't think my coaching's for you. I'm going to be really honest. But also, I want to make sure I've got connection with them. Don't know what you guys feel, but I think it's very hard to get if you don't connect and get on with a client, it's very hard to get a result with them.
It's tricky, because I think I've had a lot of clients where maybe in the first conversation they've been a bit awkward. They're speaking to a coach and they're not 100% comfortable. They're not in a good spot personally, mentally. And then I can see that, and I'm not having a great kind of rapport with them. But I'm like, I can help you. I know I can help you. And the biggest red flags for me are people who you can see straight away won't change. They're set in their ways. And before the call's even over, they've listed 40 reasons as to why.
Yeah, why they're not going to succeed.
They have to do this way, and they can't change this because of this. And I'm like, good luck. That's all I'll say. Good luck, because I don't think I'm going to be able to help you here.
I think there's a confidence outsourcing as well, and just maybe referring them on to someone else who you know who can help them.
Yeah, who would be a good fit for their coaching.
A good fit, and that for me has been a really powerful thing from a networking standpoint as well, because you're not leaving them high and dry. Hopefully there is someone you can send them to and say, I think you need this person. Hello, Walter.
Well, he's going for a lot of coaches today.
I just thought that.
He definitely wants a wee, I think.
Yeah, I feel like you definitely want
I'm just conscious of your time, Brad. Are you okay time-wise?
Well, I mean, if you've got any final sort of questions for Lee before we...
I think that's it. I think I've asked pretty much all the things I wanted to ask. Maybe just one more thing. You mentioned obviously your son Logan. You've commented on obviously, one of the stories that I put on with Harlow doing some of the sit-ups and the core. Is there anything you do with Logan?
Core and cuddles.
Core and cuddles, that's it. Anything that you're doing with Logan right now to promote fitness? And I assume you want him to get into like exercise and sport when he's older. Is there anything you're doing right now to promote that, or anything you're doing right now to promote it in the future?
So, not at this stage. It's really, I don't know if you guys find it's really weird as a parent, right? So, when those early years, right, when everyone's saying, "Oh, just enjoy them while they're young," and it happens, it's over so quick, and then I'm like, this bit's cool, but like I want to spar with him. I want to take him fishing. I want to take him up, but like, I can't wait for the stage when he's a bit more older and we can go fishing and we can do all this stuff, because it's like there's only so many times you can play Lego and Roblox before you're like, fucking hell, my head's bent.
What might happen is he might get to a stage in life where he just shows no interest in like any of that
and in
stuff.
which I would never ever push him.
So I think at this stage now, whatever they are into, whether that is exercise or not, just encourage it.
He loves it.
The worst thing you can do is say that'll make you. I mean, when I was a kid, my dad wasn't a massive fan of games. He was like, it'll make you brain dead. But it kind of made me want to play it more because it was going against his...
he does. He loves, because obviously his mum's in incredible shape as well. He loves it. He picks the dumbbells up. He picks the kettlebells up. He's always asking what foods to eat to get strong and what's going to make him strong. So that's a great thing. That he only drinks water as well. It's better than me. Doesn't have energy drinks.
Wow.
Doesn't eat. Doesn't have sweets. Doesn't have pop. But he's never been around it. But in terms of where he wants to go, I think that you just need to give them the opportunities and.
Has he showed interest in sports or anything like that?
He's playing. He goes to Bolborough School, and they've got like a wrong shaped ball for me, but they've got like a little Paris Saint-Germain football thing that they do, because I think the school's paired with them. Cool. I think he's certainly not a football kid. He plays football and he has fun. He's not like asking to watch it on TV or go and watch match. No, just not in any way, shape or form. He's He just likes being around people and being with me and having love and attention. It's really, really nice. It's like even some days when I've taken him to Gulliver's, or we've gone to Butterfly House, or actually, real made an effort. We've been to Ninja Warrior about 3 or 4 times, and he has a good time. But quite often he just wants to be at home. And he just wants to chill and watch TV and be around you, which is really, really nice, I think.
Yeah. He sounds lovely and affectionate. That's great to see in a young kid.
But I haven't. I certainly wouldn't. I've obviously always build healthy habits in him and would always want to be the example and the role model, and that's something that I always say to myself. I was talking to Zach about this on the car on the way here. We don't always get it right as dads. Like I said that time when I snapped at him in the car because he was really messing around, and then he said, I don't like you, Dad. I don't like you, angry Daddy. I want you happy all the time. And you have to learn the lessons, and like I said, I've got a piece of paper next to my bed. I'm a bit of a freak, and the reason is every night I look at myself in the mirror before I go to bed, and I ask myself, are you proud of the man you've been today? Are you happy the example that you've set for Logan today? And sometimes it actually triggers things when I'm like, actually, no, that wasn't good enough. You I don't believe anyone doesn't still get distracted on their phones around their kid, or end up, just do this and just be quiet for 10 minutes and Daddy will finish this. Still slip back into it all the time, but then I'll remind myself, actually, no, Lee, that could have waited. Like that, you didn't need to do that then. That could have waited until Monday.
But it's good that you have these internal
what did I learn? What did I learn? What did I learn?
Mm.
And then, you know, whatever it is, you can always improve it, because none of us are perfect. But the thing that I always write down and remember is, I ask myself, if I was my dad, would I be proud to look up to him? Mm. And that's the standard that I try and hold myself to for him. So if I was my own dad, would I be looking at him going, that's my fucking dad? Because that's all I want.
I've got a similar question. I've said this to you before about that's exactly what I ask. Reflection-wise, if me and Ted switched situations right now, would he be happy with what he's inherited? Physically, mentally, patterns-wise, behaviour-wise. Yeah, fully resonate with that.
And I think that's what... I want to be his hero.
That's literally the slogan of our podcast, isn't it? We want every parent to be their child's hero.
Yeah.
Should leave it there. That sounds
an amazing
place.
Great.
No, just to really, thank Lee. I think you've been amazing. I really do appreciate you.
It means the world.
Super reflective. Like you've been, more. It was Pete Wakefield that says this, wasn't it? Some people you get on here and you can see straight through them. For you, you've been so much more than just what you see in face value. There's so many more layers. So many more layers to it than we thought.
Strange podcast because. Again, it's this environment thing. So I think this is like quite a calm, caring, fatherly, quiet environment, and I think you kind of mould into that. I've been on podcasts with other people where they're quite energetic and kind of, and I've been like, and you kind of mirror that as well. But it's been great energy.
It sells sometimes that, I think, the high energy stuff, and we've had guests on it a bit like that, and you kind of mimic that as a host. But we want it to be more like getting to know the person. And we want to step back a little bit and go, who are you? Who is Lee Freeman? I think our audience and me especially, I've really got to know.
I just really tried to be, if I finish on one single thing that I hope men could take away, that I learned from a very tough guy. I always try to be authentic, and something I've learned recently is just to be more vulnerable sometimes as well. I've gone through periods when I'm like, no, I'm just tough, I'm hard, I don't let people in, I protect myself, I'm solid. And Kev Bland, a friend of mine who's an ex-Marine, he explained to me once, sometimes being vulnerable is the most courageous thing you can do. And it almost like had to sit in my head for a minute, and I'm like, no, vulnerability's weak. And then I'm like, oh, hang on, he's like a real tough-ass Royal Marine. And then when he kind of explained it to me and we have a chat about it, and I'm like, it does, and it's the same as, if anyone is struggling or going through tough times, like avoidance is never going to help. It's never going to solve the problem. And being vulnerable enough to ask for help, it doesn't make you weak, it makes you courageous.
Love that.
Well said. Lee Freeman, thank you for the podcast, mate. Awesome. Guys, thank you for joining us on the Fit Podcast. We'll see you next one.
See you soon.
Thanks, mate. Awesome.
Appreciate that. Honestly, really good.
Yeah,
love that. Thank you so much.